This is Analog Spectrum. Tony and I actually met when he accidentally butt dialed me. Even weirder, he did it on a wall-mounted rotary phone.
All right, this is Tony jumping in right at the beginning. I'm just letting you know right now, this is going to be in two parts. We're going to talk a little bit about the cars that we own and we're restoring right now. So, a little longer podcast, decided to break it down in two parts. So, enjoy part one.
Recording. All right. Whoa, shit.
Still recording. We are still recording as we record. That's what it was. It finally decided that it needed some juice. All right.
Okay. Okay.
We're going to restart because now everybody knows my PIN number.
Restarting.
All
Okay.
right.
Ready? Cut.
Cut. Say recording.
Recording.
We are recording. And we have another format change. This is Analog Spectrum. This is Tony. I'm here with Doug. The reason we have a format spectrum, if I decided to post them in order, we just got done doing an 1883 podcast. Doug and I are in the same room. I tried something different. It didn't work.
Didn't work very well, yeah.
No, the video was probably okay, I guess, but the sound was a little bit mucky.
We had some echo issues.
It was bad. Yeah. I'm going to spend. There's going to be a Saturday and Sunday night with me doing some fancy work with Audition and yeah, it's
whatever.
It is what it is.
That's it.
Yeah, but
No pain, no gain, man.
But now we're using our old podcasting equipment that we used before we went video. But now that I'm doing video, so this is basically just kind of pieced together with a couple different software. And when the system was down, Doug and I were talking about options. Blah blah blah. I know you're on the edge of your seat. Let's just talk about this for an hour.
Yeah. And then the XLR cable plugs into the
And that's when I said, "Oh my gosh, would you believe it? I found a vacuum tube. This thing runs on steam."
That's great.
Fucking Christ.
So
anyway,
I'd say let's talk about cars.
Let's talk about cars.
Cars,
so,
man.
Doug and I, same room
Not
again.
the movie.
You can kind of tell just by the stuff in the background that we're sitting in. This is the room that we used to just do the non-video podcasting in. And we like this. We actually like to be in the same room. It makes life a little bit easier. But cars.
Cars.
And going back to our podcast a long time ago.
It was like episode 3 or 4, man. It was early.
Yeah, it was early on where we talked about cars that we like, right? And cars that we had, maybe cars that we wanted. And you should go back and revisit it. It's amazing.
Yeah, breathtaking.
Honestly, I listen to it pretty much every day. So at least a little bit of it. Not all of it. It's too much.
Whatever you say, Pinocchio.
Yeah. So we had that podcast where we talked about our cars. Doug talked about a few cars. I talked about it. Well, he's always been more into cars than me. Don't you think?
I don't know more, but
you've had more cars.
Yeah, but that's only because there's only a couple that I've ever had that I've been like, ooh, now that car I like.
Right.
Yeah, there's only one or two that I've ever gotten rid of that I think like, man, I would like to have that car again.
Right.
Yeah. So 3000 GT, the Mitsubishi.
Right.
That was cool. And the original Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
Those were like, yeah, I'll take that car again.
We're going to swing back around to that Mini Cooper in a second.
Yeah, we will.
But so anyway, now both Doug and I at different points are kind of in kind of car restoration mode.
Yes.
And I'm sure this will be in the title somewhere, but he has an AC Cobra kit car, and there it is. And I have recently bought a 2003 WRX that needs restoration.
And it's still invisible as of this moment.
I'm not too sure I have it, but I'm not too sure I have it. This may be a long podcast.
It's laying in a ditch burning somewhere in Colorado.
Don't fucking get me started, bro. Don't get me started on this. So this is good.
We got to do a whole episode on that whole thing.
We will.
Yeah.
We're going to definitely.
Yeah.
The reason we're not going to drill down into it too much is it's not here yet.
Yes.
And I don't know when this is going to get posted. Yeah. But I'm definitely going to uncork that at
once
a later
the car
time.
arrives.
Yeah. I have, and it's an interesting thing, but before we get started, I think it'd be better if we just kind of focused on one car and then we'll pivot over to the other car.
Okay.
And I'd like to talk about your AC Cobra experiences first.
Okay.
Okay. And so maybe just initially just tell us why the AC Cobra, how that came to be.
How the whole thing came about. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so anybody who's into cars, especially sports cars or American muscle cars, the AC Cobra, if it's not at the very top of the list, it's pretty damn high. That's a legendary car.
It's unique in all the best ways.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Carroll Shelby was a race car driver, a Texas-born and bred guy.
Yeah.
A bullshit artist, salesman. He did a lot of stuff. But he was racing, and then he had some heart condition. He couldn't race anymore. Go watch the movie Ford versus Ferrari. I think part of that story is in there. Yeah. Anyway, so he convinced Ford to give him some engines for these little British sports cars that he imported. Excuse me. And anyway, they were winning races, and they were trying to get a Corvette killer, and they ended up with it. And then eventually they couldn't get it to go any faster, so they put a bigger engine in it. And then that's when it really became legendary. And then that went on and turned into the Shelby Daytona Coupe, which was, so the Cobra is a topless sports car. It's no roof. It doesn't come with a roof. People have invented roofs, but it's all aftermarket stuff. But anyway, so it's a little two-seater, and it's a real lightweight, high-powered car. And so I've always been interested in it. And a few years ago, I discovered there's a company out of New England called Factory 5, and they do replicas. And gosh, that's a whole topic. There's people that throw their nose in the air like, so it's a replica. But, I don't have the $2 or $3 million for an original one because they didn't make very many of them. So the replica is my only option if I'm gonna get one of these. And so these guys actually, they stayed pretty faithful to the body size and the shape. I think it is a little bit longer and a little bit wider, but we're talking inches here. So it's pretty close to the original. And the way they sell it as a kit, like a legitimate kit. You get boxes and a frame, and you build this thing. And you put it together in your garage with basic hand tools. There's no special tools necessary. But as the builder, you get to pick your powertrain. So you get to pick your engine, your transmission, and your rear end, and your wheels and tires. And so it's really, really popular. I'd say it's probably the most popular kit car out there is the Factory 5 Cobra. They do a few others as well. But anyway, so I started poking around Factory 5, and I really fell in love with the 33 hot rod that they do. It's a cool, just hot rod, it just looks cool. It's one of the things you paint flames on it and shit, make it look cool.
Yeah.
Big chrome wheels and loud exhaust and all that whole trope. But so I actually had one of those on order. And it takes months to get these things because they build them in order that people order them. And I saw one in person, and I didn't like it. Like, I only ever saw pictures on the internet, and then I saw one here in Bernie, and I didn't like it. And I'm like, So I changed my mind, and I know that I like the Daytona Coupe. That to me really is the top. The Cobra's way up there, top 5, but the Daytona Coupe is a number 1, always has been. And so I called them up and I changed my order to the Daytona Coupe. And I was waiting for that car to come in. It was supposed to arrive this June. And in April, I was telling one of the guys at work about it. And he was like, hey, I got a buddy who has a Cobra. And he says, you need to talk to him. I'm like, okay, I thought I was going to get advice or something. So I go talk to this guy, and he's like, no, man, I'm selling my Cobra. I've had it for years. I built it. And he was away on business, and his kid jacked the thing up to I don't know if he's doing something with the tires or brakes or whatever, but he actually jacked it up on the oil pan and bent the oil pan. And this guy didn't know it, and when he got home from his business trip, he took it for a drive and blew up the engine because it ran out of oil. So he took it to somebody here, a mechanic here in Kerrville, and decided he was going to get it redone. And they took it. It was a 302, basic Ford 302. The engine was out of a 94 Mustang Cobra SVT, I think is the correct. I'm not a Ford guy,
right?
But it was the highest end Ford Mustang that you could get. That's what this thing was out of in the 90s. So he put the engine and transmission from that in the car, built it, drove it around, won car shows with it and all that sort of stuff. And then when it blew up, he took it to get it repaired. And then these guys dragged their feet. And I can tell by looking at it that they did some shoddy work.
They did.
I'm not sure who was working on this thing, but it wasn't great. But it took 3 years, and it still wasn't finished. And this guy got frustrated finally, and he took it back. And by this time, during those 3 years, this dude had moved into an RV. He was retired, started his RV life. He had no tools. He had no shop, no place to keep this thing. So he kind of begged, borrowed, and stole a little barn space from one of his friends, and it was sat in the barn for quite a while until I came along. And so it was legitimately a barn find. And I got a heck of a deal on this car. I mean, they go in decent shape. They go for $60,000 or so, and I got it for less than half that. So I thought, well, it's not my Daytona Coupe, but it's a lot cheaper than my Daytona Coupe, and it's already almost done. So I thought, oh, what the heck, man, I'll do it. I'll get it and then finish it up, and if I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't like it, I'll sell it. So I bought it, took it home, and I started fiddling around with it, and me and Andrew have been working on it, and yeah, it's quite the learning curve because it's a Ford. You know, I don't know anything about Fords.
Yeah.
And it's quite different.
Yeah, and you know, and you are, and I've been over there a couple times and just very
poking around. Yeah,
poking around, and you are really trying to unfuck it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things where I'm like, you know, like one of the things you pointed out, and again, just be kind of clear, which is this is kind of interesting, is that you had a certain goal, and this could either be an amazing investment, or you
could crash and burn. Yeah.
Well, you're probably
hopefully not crash and burn.
Yeah. At the very least, you'll probably get your money back out of it. Yeah, you break even exactly. And but you have like the Holly fuel system. Something else, fuel rail, Frankenstein thing going on.
Yep, there's a lot of that in the car. And you know what? But at some point, these cars are kind of designed to be that way anyway, unless you put high dollars into them. So if you want to go out and buy a crate engine and spend $20,000 on a crate engine and transmission, you can just slap that baby in and bolt it up, and it's all good. But you still have to do all the brake work yourself. You still have to do all the steering stuff and figure all that out. And there's lots of help. The forums are great. There's a lot of people that have built these cars to help you. But the struggle that I have is that I'm not building it like from scratch, and I can go on the forum and say, hey, I'm at this point in the build. What can I do? I'm actually trying to undo stuff that people have already done, and that's a lot harder to get help with.
Right.
But anyway, it's no big deal. I'm actually enjoying it. The progress is slow right now, but I think I'm literally, if you added up the hours, I'm probably about 4 or 5 hours away from starting it. From trying to start it. Oh, let's hope it starts.
You meant 4 or 5 hours for like 40
hours.
Well,
no. Me and Andrew were racing to try to get it done before he left, and we were going too fast. Yeah.
I was talking about going slow.
Yeah, it's way better.
It is, but I that was obvious. We talked about it. Like you were doing things like to bypass like the heater core. All that kind of stuff. It's like crazy.
So I think that the right thing to do is to pull the engine and transmission out of this thing.
Right.
It doesn't need to be rebuilt because literally I can see the pistons are brand new. When I took the oil pan off and looked at the pistons are brand spanking new. This thing's never been run after it's been rebuilt. And I'm pretty sure he gave me like stacks and stacks of paperwork. And I looked through all of that stuff, and I'm pretty sure that the engine was bored over from a 302 to a 347.
Why? It's paperwork.
Because that was in like the work order, but I'm not 100% sure that actually was the work that got done.
Right.
But that's what he had asked for. So I have no documentation to be sure about that. And I imagine there's probably a way you could find out, but I don't care enough to do it.
Yeah. You have to pull the heads off and mic the heads out.
Yeah. It had
the bore. Yeah.
It had a supercharger on it, and I took that off because I was just worried that was just too much power. It's a little 1,800-pound car.
Yeah.
And it's already, if it is a 347, it's going to come in around 450 horsepower.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So to give you some estimation, for example, like a minivan will have about 200 horsepower. Mm-hmm. And you throw 6 kids and soccer balls in that thing and go off to the beach or whatever. Right. And this thing's weighs a third, and it's got more than double the horsepower. It's going to be ridiculous. Yeah.
Horsepower has always been one of those things that's been kind of subjective, objective, how they measure it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they get amazing amounts of horsepower out of
it is crazy
out of cars nowadays.
And the other thing that's interesting is that again, people turn their nose up because it's a kit car, but at the end of the day, this thing was designed from the frame up, and then the body was made to fit on the frame.
Right.
And the chassis that they use is way better than the original AC chassis. It's a lot stiffer. And the suspension that they have nowadays is just like 1,000 times better. Back in those days, you had body roll all day long. Remember driving those little big heavy Chevys? you're like leaning like crazy. Yeah, you're floating. Yeah,
the land yachts.
Yeah, this is a race car.
Well, I was going to say that you're talking about AC Cobra compared to this in a way that a lot of this has the potential to be better in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah. And
yes.
This is, and also. To what you're talking about, like the previous mechanics working on it, yeah. Like Doug was showing me, they're like some of the work is so high quality. You're just like, this guy definitely,
it was really good stuff.
Really good stuff. And then other stuff, you're like, rather than doing a spacer, there's a stack of like 18 washers.
Yeah,
and you're just kind of like,
why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So.
Couldn't find the right size head bolt, so there's I can't get the valve cover on because there's a stack of washers.
Yeah,
you're like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
it's like I couldn't get the right thread pattern, so I just basically forced in this plumbing bolt I got from Home Depot.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so we've had to do a few things. We did have a stripped out bolt in one of the heads, and we had to tap that out. Yeah. That whole process went great. It's always nerve wracking because if you screw up your heads, you're done, man. Yeah. You're done.
Yeah,
you got to replace them.
I told you I was mansplaining torque patterns to my wife, and
did she hit you?
No, she is. She's like, really? She patronizes me. It's even worse. No, so, but she made the comment that, so if you mess it up, do you have to start over? I'm like, no.
You get new heads.
You get new heads.
Yeah, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah, but that went well. That project was one of the least problematic things that we did. It was, danger is the wrong word, but with potential bad outcomes, that was the highest risk that we did.
Yeah.
But it came out the best. So it came out pretty much perfect. So the plan is now to get the thing running. I gotta mount the fuel tank, tighten up all that stuff, make sure that's all good, and then hook up the battery and see if the smoke comes out.
Right,
hopefully nothing's cross-wired or anything.
Oh gosh, it's so rough. Well, I will tell you also, you had a friend who had a AC Cobra kit car.
Yeah, it was a kit car. Yeah, he didn't build it from scratch. Somebody else built it, and he helped finish it.
Yeah, I just remember you talking about that car because it was supercharged too, right? Or had a big block.
I think it had a big block. I don't think it was supercharged.
You told me, I remember there was one line you told me one time about the power because you had driven it, and you go, you said something. It's hard to drive. I feel like I'm tap dancing under the dash.
Yeah,
that was a great line.
Yeah,
man.
Well, it's hard. Yeah, because the foot box is really small on these things. So literally, I can't wear like Nike running shoes because with that wide rubber on the bottom, there's not enough room. You have to wear like really skinny shoes.
Wow.
Or no shoes, whatever. I mean, it's tight. It is very tight underneath there.
Not built for comfort.
No. But so anyway, my plan is to get it running, and hopefully this stupid ass heat wave is going to break pretty soon.
Right.
And then I just want to drive it around a little bit during the fall. I want to see how I react to the car. I'm going to see how I like it, how much I like it.
Right.
Little stuff rattling here and there is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to want to fix it. But at the end of the day, if I really like it, if I enjoy driving, which I really do think I'm going to, that's it. I'm going full tilt. I'm yanking the motor. We're going to rebuild that thing from the bottom up, and I'm going to paint it, redo all the interior with nice luxury leather stuff, and turn it into something that I want to hang on to and drive.
Right.
Because as of now, it's a bit of a shit trap driving. It's just like the paint is bubbled in places, and the dash is held on with duct tape and whatever at this point.
Like I said, you're having to basically unscrew what somebody else screwed up. It just is.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And you can definitely see that with the. It's things on there are just strange.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're like. The steering, not the column, but the
the steering shaft. Yeah, I just got a new one in today when I got home from work. That my new one was in. So
just to explain, it unbolts on both ends, and they cut it in half.
They cut it in the middle. Yeah,
cut in the middle to take it off.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
I know, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
It's like I don't even know.
Yeah, well, I think, and this is one of the reasons that the straw that broke the camel's back for the guy who owned the car was that. And the way that they had the front end all set up, the way he had this thing running, he was driving, and all they had to do was put it back together. And when they put it back together, they did something wrong, and the power steering pump was in the way of the steering shaft.
Right.
And so their fix for this was to leave the power steering pump there and literally build a 4 universal joint thing going around the power steering pump. I'm like that. Anybody who's ever done anything with cars knows you want that steering as straight as possible. You don't want that many U-joints in there,
right?
Because your steering breaks in the middle of it and you're screwed. You're
and also there's all sorts of options to move the steering power.
Yeah,
the power steering power.
Yeah, and that's what I ended up doing. So
yeah.
But anyway, so we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of psyched. I've always liked Cobras, and I'm kind of happy to have one. And I'm looking forward to driving down the driveway the first time and the brakes actually work. That'll be great. But yeah, we'll see. So if it all goes good, then when the winter hits and it's all crappy and icy, I'll yank that engine out of there. I got some work to do in the transmission, I'm sure. I can actually see on the bell housing. I can actually look where the clutch cable comes in. Mm-hmm. There's a hole about this big. It's cut out. It's a square hole, and I can see my clutch. So there's got to be some kind of a plate or something that covers that. Yeah. I mean, he gave me these boxes and boxes of parts. I'm like, oh shit, man! I'm looking through all this stuff.
I'm sure you can fabricate one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But what a pain.
Yeah, exactly. So there's stuff like that. But for now, I'll just get her running, see how she does.
Nice. So, very cool.
So let's talk about the Subaru because
oh my gosh,
let's not get into the let's not get in.
All right, that's it for part one. I have a feeling these podcasts devoted to car restoration and Doug and I, our podcast restoration projects, that's probably going to become kind of a regular thing. I think you can pretty much count on that. Anyway, podcast 2, I'll post that about this topic. I'll post that next week on Monday. And thanks for listening. And I hope you have a great day.
Oh, stupid. That was too funny. You want me to do it again? Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, time to do another outro. For some reason, I feel like I got to do these every now and again just to keep it fresh. You know how much I hate doing this. Let's not do this with 83 takes. Let's do it just in a couple. Like, share, subscribe, write me, send me show ideas. If you want to be on the show, that's great. I'll be more than happy to have you. Everybody likes guests and all that kind of stuff. So send me an email, shoot me a line, drop something in the comments. I think I did it. That's everything. Boom, I'm out of here. Have a great day. Love ya.